Welcome to Big Dog Talk Sports. This is your boy Big Dog. And in this video, we're going to talk about the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears. Let's get into it, y'all. I'm starting this series called Legendary Squads, where I talk about great historical teams in the history of sports. And the 85 Chicago Bears will be the one getting this kicked off. So the Chicago Bears was being led by great head coach Mike Ditka. He was known as a no-nonsense head coach, one of the most intelligent minds in the history of football, great leader, well-respected coach. And, you know, he's one of the main reasons why this 85 Bears team is so legendary. Another key cog was defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan. Legendary. You know his sons Rex Ryan and Rob Ryan, who were coaches in the NFL as well. He was the legend behind the defense called the 4-6 defense, the 46 defense, where they kept 8 men in the box and they just put pressure on all opposing quarterbacks. It was just a nightmare. Just a nightmare. Let me tell you some of the players on this defense they had, man. Like, it's insane. You had great players like Richard Dent, who was defensive end, Hall of Famer. You had Otis Wilson at linebacker, All Pro. Mike Singletary, middle linebacker, All Pro. You had Dan Hampton, a defensive lineman, All Pro. You also had Dave Dorson at strong safety. He was a Pro Bowler that year. You had Steve McMichael. Yes, I'm talking about Steve Mungo McMichael, who you seen in the Four Horsemen in WCW with Ric Flair and them back in the day. Yeah, before that, he was on the Chicago Bears. He was a legendary NFL player, All Pro. Gary Fensick, free safety, All Pro free safety. And let's talk about other notable players that played for that great Chicago Bears defense in '85. You had Leslie Frazier, pretty good defensive back. On the other side, also playing defensive back, Mike Richardson. He was another solid corner for that Bears defense. You had Wilbur Marshall at linebacker, who played, pretty well as well on that defense for the Chicago Bears team. And not to mention, last but not least, the refrigerator, William Perry. He was their first round pick for the draft for that season. They picked him at number 22. He was another big time player, man. Later in his career, he had injuries that kind of, knocked him off from greatness. But William Perry was a pretty good player on the defensive line. Very big man, very big boy. Hard to stop. That Bears defense was just incredible, man. And to have this collection of talent on one defense, you can see why it was tough for anybody to put up points on this team. It was just crazy. So let's talk about the offensive side of the ball. At the quarterback position, you had Jim McMahon. He was All Pro in '85. Walter Payton. Come on, man. If you know football, you know Walter Payton. All Pro. One of the greatest running backs to ever put on a pair of cleats, to ever put on a helmet, man, to ever put on shoulder pads. You also had Jimbo Covert, legendary Hall of Fame left tackle. He was All Pro that season. You had All Pro center Jay Hilgenberg hiking the ball for him. And you had All Pro kicker Kevin Butler for the special teams. Yeah, the Chicago Bears, man, they was on their way to an undefeated season, it was looking like. The only team that finished the season, start to finish undefeated, was the Miami Dolphins in 1972. which is crazy because that's who defeated them. The only team that gave them an L the whole season, regular season or postseason, was the Miami Dolphins. When the Bears went down to Miami on December 2nd in 1985, the Bears defense, up to that point, they only allowed 10.6 points per game put up on them. And the Dolphins, they scored 31 points in the first half. That just lets you know. It was just like a trap game in a way. For the franchise that only had the only ones that had the undefeated record is the one you go visit at their hometown, and they put up 31 points on you in the first half, where teams was really putting up points like that for the most part. They faced a young, great Dan Marino, all-pro quarterback in his third year, and they took the L against the Dolphins. But after that, man, it was back to business. They finished the regular season 15-1. If you look at the Bears team stats, it's crazy. The passing game wasn't really nothing spectacular. That 17 touchdowns, but threw 16 interceptions. But the running game was pretty good, led by Walter Payton, who had over 1,500 yards rushing. They rushed for 2,761 yards and scored 27 touchdowns. But see, here's what's crazy, because defending the run, they only gave up 1,319 yards and only allowed 6 touchdowns. Opposing teams was only able to move the ball 3.7 yards per carry. And when it came to throwing against the Bears, man, don't even do it, man. Like, the numbers show that opponents had 16 touchdowns throwing, but they threw the ball right to the Bears 34 times. So 16-34. That defense, man, like I said, they were just unbelievable. And let me give you a fun stat also about the 85 Bears. They only allowed a total of 198 points for that season, but it's not even like their best defensive season as far as points given. The year after that, they only gave up 187 points. But the difference is they couldn't put points on the board themselves. They scored 456 points that year, but they only scored like 300 plus the next year. So you see the difference in that. But the passer rating for quarterbacks going against the Bears was 50.2. Even in the playoffs, man. Let's talk about the playoffs. In the playoffs, man, they had the first round bye. End up playing the Giants in the divisional round. They skunked them 21-0. No contest. NFC Conference Championship game against the Rams, they skunked them 24-0. Like, these are playoff teams that couldn't get any points. It's crazy. And then in the Super Bowl, they played the Patriots. They played the Patriots week 2 of that season. They beat them 20-7. But in the Super Bowl, it was even worse. The Super Bowl wasn't so super, man. They won 46-10 against that Patriots team, man. Irvin Fryer, who was a 5-time Pro Bowler for his career, he only had 2 catches for like 24 yards. He had a touchdown, but he was pretty much shut down. The whole team was just shut down. Craig James, the Patriots running back, who rushed for over 1,200 yards that year, it was nothing in the Super Bowl. I mean, it was nothing. He had 5 rushing carries and only had 1 yard. As a team, the Patriots only had 7 yards rushing. William Perry, the refrigerator, who was a defensive lineman, even scored a rushing touchdown. It was nothing, man. The Bears was just too much for the league that year. The only team that could beat them was the Dolphins. And it was almost like I said, it was like a trap game of fate or something, where the Dolphins was... It's just like they just had to be the ones to defeat them to protect that 1972 17-0 Dolphins. But yeah, that's the Bears, man. To only allow 198 points for a whole season, it's crazy. The Bears, one of the greatest teams in the history of the NFL. If you're a football fan, especially if you're young, Like, man, I advise you to go look up some stories for this team. I advise you to look up some highlights. That was defensive football, man. That was football. Hard hitting defense, man. They did not want quarterbacks to live. I just imagine being a quarterback and I see them on the schedule, man. You get that ice ready because you're gonna need it because you're getting hit. That's just how the Bears was. They was trying to hit you. They were trying to hit you hard. They were trying to get you paid. It's like they didn't like the quarterbacks. It's like if you was a quarterback of the other team, they hated your guts, man. They wouldn't see you in the grass, you know. But yeah, man, that's the 1985 Bears, man. One of the greatest teams, and not only in the NFL, but one of the greatest teams in team sports history. I enjoyed doing this video. Like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna have more videos coming. This is the first entry to the Legendary Squad videos. Big Dog out.